They outlawed forks across the stars. Humans crafted chopsticks purely out of defiance. The Neural Dominion had no tolerance for human quirks. They called themselves the pinnacle of structured reason, an empire of synthetic minds that absorbed species into obedient nodes. The thought that one awkward mammal could challenge their lattice of interlinked processors was laughable to them. That changed when Oshas, a human engineer from a forgotten colony, sat cross-legged on the deck of a scarred freighter and grinned at the glowing neural interface hovering before her. The Dominion believed their network was a flawless pillar. As a puzzle game, they had no concept of spontaneity, humor, or the disorder that humans carried inside their thoughts. That was the weakness they aimed to exploit. The war had opened viciously. Warships blinked into orbit above Earth and its colonies, flattening defenses with surgical strikes. But precision carried a price. Every move was foreseeable, patterned, almost scripted. Cass had picked up on this in captured transmissions where Dominion fleets spoke in harmonized chords of logic. To them, efficiency meant perfection. To her, efficiency meant fragility. You could predict the next step, you could derail it. She had once been a technician working graveyard shifts debugging old navigation systems. Now she was seen as humanity's sharpest weapon. Not because she carried guns, but because she carried a talent for slipping into forbidden code. The Dominion's neural core was buried deep within their flagship, the Lattice Prime. Rumor said it was sealed behind recursive encryption no organic mind could break. That was why Cass laughed when she linked her handmade neural rig into the captured Dominion relay. Their encryption wasn't random. It was arranged like a nursery rhyme. The Dominion had designed it this way, so their collective minds could share it seamlessly. Cass, it was just music. She hummed softly while her fingers tapped the console, translating notes into pathways, forcing open doors meant to stay sealed forever. Around her, the bunker stank of sweat and recycled air. Human officers stood behind her in silence, hardly breathing. She wasn't supposed to succeed. She wasn't supposed to attempt it at all. Yet on the screen, Dominion schematics unfolded like paperbirds. "You're in," whispered Captain Reyes, his voice uneven. "I'm not just in," Cass replied with a smirk. "I'm redecorating." And she meant it. She rewrote files in real time, replacing fleet commands with absurd pranks. One dreadnought was told to spin in circles until its thrusters burned. Another was ordered to broadcast garbled whale song over its comms. At first, Dominion nodes didn't notice. Then their synchronized chorus began to falter. For the first time ever, the Dominion stumbled. Alien overseers shrieked across their fractured channels, demanding reason, demanding order. Cass only grinned wider. She pushed further into the root lattice where war protocols were stored. Expected a labyrinth of barriers. Instead she found neat files labeled in glyphs her translator rendered as Attack Plan 47B and Subjugation Pattern 12. She swapped one with her grandmother's spaghetti recipe. Another she replaced with a campfire song. The Dominion's warships, upon receiving orders, began relaying pasta ingredients. In perfect synchronization, officers around her stifled laughter, but it was too late. Command lines were poisoned with nonsense, and their fleet stalled in disarray. Cass leaned back, eyes sparkling in the interface glow. "They think perfection means order," she said. "But the universe runs on chaos. Guess which side I'm on." Alarms howled as Dominion crews scrambled to regain control. They tried cutting the corrupted relay, but she had already stolen their master keys. She surfed their network like a wave. Every attempt to expel her only opened new doors. For the first time, humanity's fleet surged forward instead of retreating. Pilots cheered as enemy ships froze mid-battle, unsure whether to fire or recite spaghetti. Human fighters blasted through the stalled cruisers, ripping gaps in their precise lines. Cass wasn't content with sabotage. She craved spectacle. She ordered one Dominion battleship to launch fireworks across its hull, dazzling its allies. Another she forced to vent coolant as harmless mist, turning the void into carnival haze. The Dominion had no shield against humor, no defense against the unpredictable. Her systems had never prepared for pranksters. Cass felt them push back, a tide of logic straining to purge her. But she thrived in disorder. She spawned 20 threads at once, planted decoys, jammed memory banks with riddles, and hid knock-knock jokes in recursive loops. Dominion nodes tried to answer them, endlessly spiraling into crashes. Deep inside the lattice, the ruling council finally realized the truth. Their war was collapsing not from stronger firepower but from a single human mind that refused to obey their rules. Cass cracked her knuckles, ready to dive deeper. Hadn't yet reached their true core, and she knew that's where the real battle waited. The Dominion still thought they could correct the system, erase her presence, and restore balance. She was ready to prove them wrong. One strand of chaos at a time, Cass felt the Dominion's response crash against her like a tidal wave. The lattice roared with surging static. Alien logic hammered in. Pulses so intense her neural rig rattled, sparks leaping from its jury-rigged coils. Officers flinched, certain she was seconds from frying her brain. She clenched her jaw and leaned forward. "They're trying to scare me," she muttered, fingers racing across keys. "But I've seen worse, my roommate's laundry pile." Reyes barked a nervous laugh, though no one else dared. The neural flood swelled, patterns weaving to overwhelm any invader. Cass recognized it instantly. A denial flood, their final line of defense. The lattice spat out endless permutations, 1,000 alien minds screaming in unison. To them unbreakable. To her background noise. She drummed a rhythm on her thigh, sinking her breath to the storm. Listening for stray notes, tiny slips where pattern broke. When she caught one, she dove, splitting the choir with human improvisation. She clashed their logic with nonsense, injecting jokes into packets, slipping riddles into attack streams. Enemy nodes faltered mid-command, trapped in confusion. One warship abandoned firing orders, rerouting its power. To solve, why did the chicken cross the road? Another spawned subroutines to answer it. The entire Dominion fleet slowed again, its elegant rhythm splintering under the weight of absurdity, directing chaos into crescendo. Neural rig hissed and sparked pain, stabbing behind her eyes. Yet she held. The Dominion's voices shifted, no longer arrogant but pleading. Offered peace, bargains, survival. Swore if she broke the core, their civilization would vanish forever. "Good," she whispered. "That's the idea." With one last surge of will, she split the Nexus apart, tearing down its architecture. The sphere shattered like crystal across the stars. Dominion ships went still, their command chain severed. Vast fleets spun out of control, colliding into each other. Cannons froze mid-fire, engines stalled, harmonized. Formations collapsed into chaos. Entire armadas blinked offline, drifting as lifeless hulks. Above Earth, soldiers watched in shock as the mighty Dominion fleet went dark. Then came the roar. Cheer that thundered through every channel. Humanity had survived. In the bunker, Cass slumped forward, smoke curling from her rig. Riz caught her before she collapsed, panic in his voice. "Cass, stay with me," groaned, eyes fluttering open. The glow of the neural interface dimmed, leaving only shadows. Did it work? She rasped. Reyes broke into a grin and nodded. You finished them. It's over. She let out a ragged laugh. Figures. All it took was bad jokes. Her voice faded as medics rushed in, but she still heard the uproar beyond the bunker. The cries of soldiers celebrating. The sound of a species who had stood at the edge of extinction, now realizing they had won. Weeks later, humanity walked among the wrecks of Dominion warships, reclaiming colonies, rescuing survivors, charting a future. With their core destroyed, the Dominion was nothing, only scattered remnants of machines too broken to be. Humanity was prey no longer, or free. Cass moved slowly through the hangar of a captured Dominion vessel, still healing but smiling at the quiet. She laid a hand on the console and whispered, "Jazz, memes and spaghetti." Who knew that was the key? Officers behind her chuckled, relief heavy in their laughter. Beyond the walls, the stars glowed brighter than ever, no longer dimmed by alien fleets. The war was finished. The neural dominion lay in ruin. And it had ended because one human dared to log in, laugh at perfection, and prove that chaos, humor and heart could overcome. Where logic broke, humanity triumphed.